Hello, it's Bailey and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to show up today in the new year and just kind of let you guys know what my plans are for 2025. I am coming off of a little bit of a break, but I just wanted to say hi. I do plan on existing here still, and especially going into this new year. That is why I want to sit down and tell you some goals and just kind of things I have going on here that will probably help you understand like where my content and where I will be going in the near future here. So first and foremost, I have missed you guys. And just a little life update. We are in and settled into our new house shortly after moving here. I ran into some health issues kind of back to back and still kind of ongoing. Most importantly, I had a kidney stone that took a long time for me to get scheduled to have a procedure, and then I did have a kidney stone procedure, which delayed some other health stuff that I had come up at the same time. So I'm still coming into 2025 with some ongoing health things that I know I will be taking care of. Potentially a surgery. I'm potentially needing my tonsils taken out, and then I have a couple other things that I just need to get squared away. So this is mostly going to be bookish goals, but I do have some health things that I'm working towards in 2025 as well. So I do need to focus on, you know, my life a lot more than I maybe have been in the last couple years. And I think you'll see in my reading goals that a lot of them are set on just generally improving my quality of life and making sure that I'm doing what I want to be doing and taking care of myself. So for this channel, I'm hoping to get back to about one video a week. I'm not going to hold myself too hard to that. If I have a video, it will go up. If nothing's ready, I am not going to pressure myself this year to be posting too much or like on a schedule. I feel like I'm allowed to say this, that my passion in this hobby is reading, and also the community that I get from doing this. My passion is not video making, and I think you might recognize that in how I'm choosing to produce videos this year. I was finding a lot of stress coming from like reading a book and then needing to update on it before I could continue or before I could start something else, and I just don't think that's how my videos are going to be structured this year. You're probably going to be seeing a lot more of me saying I'm going to read this thing and then coming back at the end and saying I read this whole thing, or even like retroactively telling you what I've been up to lately versus in real time. Realistically, the only time I have to myself is I have Friday afternoons off of work in which my kids are still at daycare. That is a choice me and my husband made years ago, that was going to be a time that they still attended that, so I had some time to get done what I wanted to get done, and a lot of times that is when I'm running errands. So I have Friday afternoons like in a quiet home, and that's when I prefer to film. I also don't like to step away from my family in the house to be doing things like film. So that's again where a lot of my content creation struggles were coming from. And so I'm just gonna try to work better around that and not format videos in a sense that I would need to be doing those things. Not to say I won't be vlogging, and not to say I won't sometimes do that, but only when I want. With all that being said, I want to get into my 2025 reading goals. First and foremost, there is a new jokes board coming. I have been disappointed in myself not completely following through on Jokes on Me, which is my TBR game, the last couple years in the way it was intended to get my TBR down and like basically be exclusively doing that. That's still a thought in my mind, but I have made a new board. Ruby is designing the board for me. Ruby always makes my board, so she's putting my new prompts on the board, and I'm assuming doing a color refresh. So I will have that board soon, but I obviously know what I chose to put on it. This is probably going to be the least like other user-friendly board because it's so specific to what I like to read, but I am planning on still playing my TBR game Jokes on Me in 2025, and my main goals going into that are of course my number goal. I do want to read 100 books in 2025. I think I ended 2024 with like 102, 103, like right at that 100 point. And that's really what I'd like to be doing. 2023, 2024, I read 102 or 103. And that was all involving me having multiple things come up over the year that like put a stop to my reading, and then having some other just like slumpy times as well. So I feel like if I'm more consistent and just like steadily reading through 100 books, that's a very manageable pace for me. And then in 2023, yes, I mean to say 2023, this time I had set a goal to read for 1 hour a day. And going into 2024, I kind of said like, I feel like I created the habit and I don't need to necessarily set that specific hour a day goal for 2024, but I'm going back in 2025 and reinstating the 1 hour a day goal. I would like to specifically be reaching for that 60 minutes. And then the next thing I'm keeping an eye on is I want to read 3 book club books a month. That is actually a reduction probably in how many book club books I currently read a month. So I have my book club I host, which is the Shelf This Book Club, and then I have a couple other online book clubs that I keep an eye on that I don't like religiously participate in, but that I try to. I guess I also have the Junie B. Jones read along, which every other month we read a nonfiction book, so I would like to include that in book clubs. But then I've been attending a lot of in-person book clubs hosted at 2 different places. I attend book clubs at a brewery here in town, and then I also attend book clubs at our local bookstore, but each of those places hosts multiple clubs. And so while I want to be social, I also want to be reading what I want to read. And so when I pile on too many book clubs, not only am I reading books that I maybe wouldn't have picked for myself, but I'm also creating a lot of deadlines for myself that I want to relinquish. I don't want the deadlines as much as I've had in the past couple years. I wrote down that I would like to have 10 rereads again in 2025. I'm not sure how many I ended up with in 2024, but 10 is a realistic number for me. I love to reread. The reason I hold on to books is because I love to reread. So if that statement is to be true, then I better be rereading. So I didn't do 12, that would be 1 a month. I did 10, I think that's realistic, and I'm sure I will pick those different ways, but I'd like to have 10 rereads. And then I also just wrote that I would like to increase the number of new releases I'm reading again. I have dwindled my TBR down. I'll talk about that here shortly. I've dwindled my physical TBR down quite a bit, which is gonna open up me purchasing more and requesting more and just reading more 2025 books. I do enjoy the part of reading and the social part of reading that includes talking about new, buzzy, highly talked about books, so I want to get back to that. I feel like I've done a pretty good job focusing on my backlist the last couple years, and while I'm still working towards getting that backlist physical TBR down, I'm excited to get to bring more new releases back into my reading life. And then I also put that I want to read less audiobooks. So generally, I'm actually not much of an audiobook enjoyer. Generally, I would enjoy a book more if I read it with my eyes. The rare exception to this is a lot of nonfiction. So I'm hoping to keep most of my audiobook listening to that nonfiction category. Sometimes it happens I just have to listen to an audiobook to 1, either meet a deadline, or 2, depending how a book is accessible to me. So I did write that I would like to do less audiobooks around the 10% mark. I'm not gonna hold myself too high to the 10% thing, but just consciously knowing that like I don't need to be putting so many books that I just have to finish at a certain timeline on myself to the point where I'm like, I'm not gonna have time to physically read it, so I listen to it at work often is what happens. So I just want to be conscious of that. And so the last thing I want you to be aware of as I come into 2025 is what is happening with my physical TBR. So joke's on me, the new board is not necessarily going to be focused on my physical TBR. There's definitely prompts on it that lend to me reading those, because I chose, which a lot of people have been doing this in recent years. Let me see if I can show you. I chose, I think you can see it from here. Yes, I chose to wrap all of my physical TBR, except I left like at the front of the bookshelf, you can see I left like 10 or so books unwrapped. And so all those are wrapped in like a brown wrapping paper. And what that is the remainder of my physical TBR. I chose to leave that stack of about 10 or so out. Those are my most recent purchases, and I left those out as potential mood reading, but the rest of my physical TBR is wrapped, and it goes up to number 38, but there's a couple, if it's a series, I have like, you know, 18A, 18B. So there's more than 38, but there's like about around 40 to 45 books there is all. I didn't have a lot of sequels. And so I am still hoping to get through most of those this year. And there is definitely jokes prompts that say Wrapped, which is my Wrapped books. So I'm hoping to get through those at a steady pace this year still as well. And I think the element of surprise will help me too. Obviously, I tend to avoid the same books for whatever reasons. These are what I have deemed I still want to read and keep. I did do a big unhaul, so I got rid of a bunch of the TBR books, which really reduced that number of how many I still have. These are the ones that I have deemed I still want to read, so I love a good randomization. I'm excited to get to those. And so that's where I'm at heading in to 2025. I'm so excited to see you guys again. Please comment down below and say hi. I've missed you. You may have noticed I've also been getting back into watching more YouTube, so you've probably seen me in your comments as well. And I am still planning on filming my favorites of 2024, but I'm not planning on doing any other like wrapping up the year typical videos. I'm kind of ready to just move past it, move forward. We're looking ahead. And then last but not least, I did want to mention, because I have been asked since I had Squash That series in January of last year. Yes, Squash That series is still going to exist in 2025. It has always happened periodically, so it's not on any schedule. And I'm hoping kind of to get back into my groove here and then get to planning the next round. But it's definitely not going to be like in any of the immediate upcoming months. I'm usually pretty transparent about my planning process and like when I'm planning on having that, with plenty of advance notice. So with that being said, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.